Welcome, everybody. Next week, tonight's two tight end Tylers triumphed in week two. Thursday night football has thrust us into week three, but for Fusion Fantasy Football, we'll forever look forward. And for us, fortunate few, we're on to week four. Welcome to next week tonight. That's right. It's Fusion Fantasy Football next week tonight. I'm your host, Josh, and this is the show that keeps you a week ahead of the competition. Having a little fun with the intro there, guys. And yeah, a lot of good results so far, which is fun for this show because it's not always the best results early. And it looks ugly sometimes, and I go out on limbs, and then a week or two later it's like, oh, hey, that actually worked. We're gonna have at least one of those instances. This is the first week we're really gonna be able to go back and look at our streamers and see how they actually scored. So we're gonna go back and look at week twos. We're going to recap week threes, but that's all going to be in the extended full-length show. Right now, we're going to dive into a blitz. I'm just going to hit on the week four takes, the ads, the trades, the cuts, and the streamers. Let's dive straight into that. We're just going to list them off, and then we'll say goodbye to all you guys who don't have time for the rest of it, and we'll dive into all of it. All right, so here we go next week tonight, week four. All right, again, what is next week tonight? If you don't know, pause and read. If you're listening for the first time, you probably kind of got the gist already. It's a full week ahead. This is what we do. So hang on, let's go. You want to be adding all these rookie wide receivers. It's probably almost too late. I'm almost waited too long. Obviously, some of these guys are gone already. The Jahan Dotson has been blowing up since week one. And London had his first big week last week. I think Burks is the next one to do it. Wilson had a big week. Probably was not really. I thought about him last week. I really did. But he was already high ownership. So not so much. Olave is going under the radar. I think Burks and Olave are the next guys that are going to blow up as far as rookie wide receivers. Make sure they're owned. These aren't necessarily guys that I expect to be available. Okay, understand. But you just need to make sure they are. All right. Same thing for the rookie running backs. Be picking these guys up. Allgaier, Rashard White, Kenneth Walker. Moving on. Add the players that are coming back from injury. Follow Edwin Porras, Dr. Edwin Porras, at FFB Injury Doc on Twitter. Has, I think it's his pin tweet right now too, a nice little cheat sheet of kind of estimated return times for a lot of these players. That's where I got these dates. Rondale Moore, that offense needs them. Gallup might even be back this week, so get him before they play this week. Jameson Williams, that's another week even beyond week four, but you want to be thinking about it. Kyle Pitts, you want to trade for him, okay? This is trade for stud season right now. We're getting into it where you're starting to know what we're looking at. You know what your team is, all right? Attack your weaknesses, go after players, all right? So here's a bunch of players you can be trading for. I like Kyle Pitts, Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery. Already mentioned him last week. It wasn't an official one, but if you watched the full show, you would have got it. So stick around for the full show. And DK Metcalf. Let it go, guys. Some of these, we're going to go from obscure all the way to guys that people really want to hold on to. Paris Campbell, Brian Edwards, Isaiah Pacheco. Okay? Easy to let those guys go. Cole Kmet. That's going to hurt some of you. Hunter Henry. That hurts me. Kadarius Toney, also going to hurt some of you guys. Streamers, Jameis Winston. Look, bad week this past week, week two, but good matchup in week four against Minnesota. Okay, same thing for Jacoby Brissett. Actually looked really good here Thursday Night Football. against Atlanta. Running backs week 4, Jalen Warren, similar idea. We just saw what he can do even in limited work. I like him to get more. Kenneth Walker, just kind of betting on him getting more involved up there, especially in the receiving game. And Sony Michel, you should already have him picked up from last week. Week 4 streaming wide receivers, Michael Gallup really was with the whole injury, guys, but made it on here. Might be back this week, but the week after that, definitely be looking at possibly playing him. Ashton Doolin, Paris Campbell didn't work, but it was Ashton Doolin instead. So go ahead. Juwan Johnson for tight ends. Guys, tight ends, we're going to dig into tight ends a lot in the full show. Juwan Johnson already was an ad, but you could definitely be streaming in week 4. Hayden Hurst, he's actually week 3 streamer. I hope it works. I think it'll work here, even if it doesn't. Even if it doesn't in week 3, I think it'll work here in week 4. Okay, guys. Colts defense. I mean, this time of year, it's kind of like whatever, but I do kind of like Colts defense. And I have my week 3 streamer in a number of my leagues. That's going to be part of the week 3 recap. Stick around. That was the Blitz. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you have to go, I understand. Hope you caught it. Go to the website at fusionffb.com and on Twitter at fusionffb. All the podcast links, video, and the text version on the website, all linked there. Thanks, guys. See you. All right. For the rest of you who are still here, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. We're going to go back next week. No, here we go. Rookie receiver. So not much more to say here. Kind of said it. It's just a list of guys. They are in the order I have them. Very, very similar to our ranks, those first 4 at least. I did have Dotson behind Pickens. We saw Pickens start to flash a little bit here Thursday night. So, all right, that's that. Same thing for these running backs. They're a little more work for Allgaier, and I think it's going to keep happening. We saw Patterson's getting a lot of usage. And there's a good and bad side to that because we saw what happened last year when he wore down. So they're going to need Allgaier. Rondale Moore, if Greg Dortch can be as productive as he is right now, surely Rondale Moore can be too, and they need it. Michael Gallup, not much more to say there. Same thing with Jameson Williams. These are really deep league shots, stashes. Maybe they come up big mid, late season. All right. Trades. All right, so now we're going to get a little bit more into actually reviewing and talking about these things. So Kyle Pitts, look, you know me, not our early tight end, not even huge on Pitts. Was actively saying that you were basically wasting a pick last year at cost. I had him in one league where I got him well below cost. Still was not good, so I should have stuck with it. A lot of these guys don't always work out as far as the tight ends. But I think Kyle Pitts has the talent that at any time now it could be. I know there's a lot of complaints about Arthur Smith and coaches holding him back, not getting him involved, not putting him in positions to get that opportunity, let alone, do something with it. So I think it's got to get better. It can't be worse. So go ahead, look into it, check it out, inquire of the Pitts owner. This is going to be a situation where it's going to have to match up perfectly, where the Pitts owner lost a running back. I'm trying to think, who would they have lost for a running back? I mean, Elijah Mitchell's the only long-term guy. Thankfully, so far, not very much big injuries so far, thankfully. So maybe just trying to make up for last year, but trying to think if there's anyone else. That kind of situation. Maybe they're just their running backs aren't working out. They have Dobbins or all these other guys that aren't really living up to the hype. And you have an extra one. You can trade that's the kind of situation you're going to be able to look for. You're not going to be able to get Kyle Pitts off of a team who doesn't have a serious need at another position. So check it out. Maybe it works in your league. Maybe it doesn't. Christian McCaffrey, everything's there for a possible big week. Right now, there's probably the biggest obstacle is Baker Mayfield. Someone needs to tell him just to stop running around and just dump it off instead, because he's not a running quarterback, but he still likes to scramble. It's not good. But we saw that work some with Hunt, so surely they'll get it figured out. Meanwhile, David Montgomery is getting the literally highest weighted opportunity share in the league. Now, the number of opportunities is not as high as you would like. You'd like the number to be higher. I'm going to pull that up here. But the actual share of the offense, it's 35%. It's ridiculous. But only 18.8 weighted opportunities total. Meanwhile, the second most share, Saquon Barkley, has 26.6 weighted opportunities. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey also down at 19. So these are guys that are way up there in usage. It can come around, turn around very, very easily for them. And finally, DK Metcalf. There's a lot of top end wide receivers that you maybe could potentially go after that aren't really producing. CeeDee Lamb, he had a pretty good game finally last week, but there's still going to be concerns with Cooper Rush as quarterback. The thing with Metcalf is we've seen Geno Smith target him and give him 19-point games. So it's something I think can very easily happen. It just hasn't happened yet. So it's very specific this case where we have the talent and we have a record of Geno Smith. Last week we saw a couple of players have those, hey, don't forget about me games, Amari Cooper, right? Even Allen Robinson getting involved after very bad week ones. Maybe, this is going to be the week for Metcalf where he's like, okay, Lockett had his game and I know we had that week one win over Russ, but where's mine? I want mine. So this could be the week. So try and get Metcalf even before the weekend's games, before week 3 games. All right, let's move it on. Let it go. Guys, like I said, some of these guys are obvious. The Pacheco one hurts, but it's really due to McKinnon. And, if I just had a typical ad slide today, it probably would have had McKinnon on there as if you're going to stash somebody running back, might as well be McKinnon. Until we see something otherwise, I still like Pacheco. I'm still going to be ready to stash him. If I have a space for an injury stash over the weekend, because someone unexpected goes on IR and I have a spot that I just want to hold a running back backup over a weekend, Pacheco's a good option. There's a lot of good options, Benjamin, all the typicals, but Pacheco's one of those for sure. Cole Kmet's one that I admitted he had at least a good path to usage. On Twitter, I highlighted that kind of principle and I laid it all out into tiers of who can be. It's not so much about vacated targets or anything about that. It's target priority, and Kmet was in a position to be the second priority on his own team. So if you can do that, that's great. But if you're only getting a couple targets or none, it doesn't help. So let it go. Same thing for me, Hunter Henry. This one hurts. This is more in a shallow league, though. Don't be too hasty to get rid of him. I do think it's going to come around, but I do think you can afford to drop him, pick up some of our streamers, get some points, and in a couple weeks when it starts to show signs of improvement, you can pick him back up. Tony, there's really no reason you have him on your roster if it's not a dynasty team. Come on. You would have been better off with Curtis Samuel. Facts. Week 4 streamers, guys. Jameis Winston, like I said, Because of the bad week and mentions of injury, I thought he would be leveled out of being an option here, but he's below 50% ownership. So go for it. Jacoby Brissett, same idea, playing really well. And I think against Atlanta, he'll have a good shot. Jalen Warren, I think I don't think it's going to be a blowout against the Jets. I mean, it's still Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll find a way of keeping it close. But we did see he even had a big run tonight that came back on a penalty. Man, I it's probably just my Najee Harris hate, as if I hate him, my RB8 ranking. But he seems to have the knack. He's weaving in and out. He's making big plays. He's making cuts and continuing to run instead of just leaping over people and falling down. Yeah, I think he probably has already beaten in a run. He probably already has beaten Najee's longest run from last season. So, yeah, there's potential there. Same thing for Kenneth Walker. This one's a stash and a stream in one. Hopefully the signs over the week 3 games are looking good, and it points to having confidence to actually play this. Same thing for Sony Michel. Like I said last week, he's the real backup you want behind Eckler. And I do think that one can be a blowout. So there you go. He might get some extra work. Wide receiver streamers, Michael Gallup. It's a bad defense, the Washington. But their offense has been scoring, been putting up points, which is a perfect kind of team to play against because it forces the other offense to put up points. And so Michael Gallup. Noah Brown's been looking great. I think Michael Gallup takes that spot over. Very similar kind of usage, more downfield threat. Ashton Doolin, Paris Campbell wasn't it, but I think Doolin is. I liked Doolin before. He was kind of buried there. I expect Pittman to be back, so it's not as wide open. But if anything, that could possibly help open things up for Doolin. There we go. Week 4, Juwan Johnson. Yeah, he's good. He's getting all kinds of usage. 5th most weighted opportunities among tight ends. It's great. The points aren't as exciting as you'd hope for, but they even had a bad week in week 2. He got the targets, but yeah, and they're not just little dump offs. Like I love with Conklin, Tyler Conklin. We'll come back to him, week 2 streamer here, but not much for air yards for Tyler Conklin. A lot of dump offs from Flacco. Juwan Johnson actually has some down the field targets. All right. And Hayden Hurst, not much else to say there. It just is what it is. He's also one of these guys getting the usage, getting the work that we would want to see in a top 12 tight end, but wasn't drafted as a top tight end. So there you go. Colts versus the Titans. I do think the Titans, this could backfire, but because you never know, especially with Derrick Henry. But of the available matchups I could see with the ownerships and everything, this was the best bet for one that could maybe come out looking really good. Otherwise, just if you just want something safe, that's fine. There's plenty of options you can go with that are safe. All right, week 3. Just looking back, we don't know how week 3 is gone yet because this is next week tonight. Week 3 hasn't even happened yet. We're into week 4. But Donovan Peoples-Jones didn't look so great. And you know what? I meant to look to see even how he did in tonight's game. But I think he's still getting targets. He's still the second wide receiver. He's getting work out there. Just they've been a little bit more focused on getting Amari Cooper the ball. So we'll see. He almost had a touchdown week 2. Toe was barely out. But after that, didn't do much. So Robbie Anderson is still getting the work. I still like that situation. Yeah, not much else to say there. Juwan Johnson, already talked about him. Cade Otton. look, if you look it up, and I can, but he basically matched Cameron Brate's usage this week. So a couple targets. He did get a target. He did get his first reception. And their actual route participation, snap share, those kind of things, even neck and neck. So we went from being the rookie who's just on the field, but Brate's doing this. And I said, Brate is the job he's going to take. He needs to take. And it's Brate. So it's not a tough competition. I mean, yeah, maybe he's still better than the rookie, but it's not like it's Isaiah Likely trying to beat out Mark Andrews, right? Well, 1 week later, he's already neck and neck with him. I think it's going to continue to progress. Otten's going to be the starting tight end and by the midseason, starting receiving tight end. Okay. All right. I'm happy with the Cam Akers guys. Really rough looking yards per carry and all of that stuff. But if you look a little deeper, he literally has 0, if not even negative 0.2 yards before contact, which just means the defense is just right there every time. But we saw him make some good moves. I saw him dodge what would have been a tackle for a loss, dive forward, get back to the line of scrimmage. So the Rams offensive line is not doing him any favors, but we saw a massive difference in usage. Akers was getting more use than Henderson. Now Henderson ended up getting in, had one good run, and got a touchdown too. But Akers was out there, and Akers got the targets, not Henderson. This is what I'm talking about, guys. They're gonna get Akers moving along. The efficiency is gonna pick up. He can be good. He's gonna have some good games coming. So I'm counting that one as a win. Same thing for Hunter Renfrow. He got the targets. I told you they were just excited week 1. Meanwhile, Adams didn't get the targets. So Renfrow, very happy with that. Unfortunately, I do think he's got a concussion or something. I'm not sure even when it happened and in the game. So maybe it would have been even better. But hopefully, I don't know for week 3 whether he's going to be in. But in the meantime, you have him on your team. That's the important thing. All right. Week 3 streamers, Derek Carr, just in case you still need something. These are ones I already looked at. Derek Carr, Raiders versus Titans, and Geno Smith, Seattle versus Atlanta. Those are some pretty kind of try to go from availability, right? Derek Carr, kind of 50-50 probably in your league, your single quarterback leagues. Geno Smith, very much going to be available. Week 3, excited to see how Kyle Phillips does against the Raiders. I talked about this a little bit in a tweet online on Twitter that someone asked me about Dortch or Paris Campbell, and I said, you know what? And yeah, I was excited about Paris Campbell's season, but I said no, I do prefer Dortch, and it's for the reasons I'm recommending Kyle Phillips in week 3 as a streamer. It's because of the Raiders and the slot. And sure enough, Dortch, it wasn't a great game, but he was putting up points. He put up points. He got work. All right. So same thing for Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips was questionable, doubtful even for the game last week. Did play, but didn't do a lot. Hopefully we see him do a little bit better this week. And Sonny Michel, you already have him. Great. Perfect. Line him up. Yeah. You can just keep streaming him, basically, if you're desperate. This is a desperation, okay? Sometimes that works out, which we'll get to. And then Hayden Hurst, already talked about, and I'm doubling up on it again next week. I don't know. I guess I get tired of talking about Conklins and Engrams and Logan Thomas's, and Higbee's out of the bag. You can't pick up Higbee off waivers anymore. And guys, I got to do a couple different discussions this past week, early in the week, and then just today even, about the tight ends. And you know, a lot of people are like, "No, I just want the guy." It's too much work to try and always figure out to stream the tight end. And Twitch said, "I completely understand. Absolutely understand. But that is why I put the work into it I do, guys, because I understand it is the most neglected position by other analysts and by your own league mates. They are not paying attention to this position. They are not putting in the work. It is the greatest place on your roster to gain a free edge. And it's a free edge because, look, you can pay up opportunity cost for a top guy. You can do it. You can do it. But now you've lost somewhere else, right? But if you go into your draft thinking, I'm going to come out with the worst tight ends, well, now you just have to stream or piece together or waiver wire or trade for something better than the 12th worst tight end in your league, and you've already netted a positive because you were able to put that opportunity cost towards something else, something that cannot be recuperated in waivers, like a wide receiver or a running back. Okay. Meanwhile, you can get these other tight ends for free. All right. Higbee, not free. You probably had to draft him, right? Who's right on that line. But the Logan Thomases, Evan Engram's also on that line. And then the Tyler Conklin was the absolute free play pickup. And now we've got Juwan Johnson too. So, look, there's even more options, it seems, this year. Last year was a little weird. They didn't all seem to play out. It was hit or miss. You know, Logan Thomas started to hit, then he got injured, things like that. This year so far, it's looking great. Literally half of the top 12 tight ends were guys we were talking about that you could get for cheap, for free. I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to double check for tight ends, because this is important, guys. This is the stuff that helps you win your league. Oops. Okay. So tight ends, of course, you have Mark Andrews, Kelsey, Ertz, Waller. Those are the top 4 scoring tight ends through 2 weeks, right? 5, Tyler Conklin. 6, Pat Freiermuth. All right. Getting a good amount of work. 7, OJ Howard. That's because the 2 tight ends. And then you got Logan Thomas. Oh, sorry, Gerald Everett. I didn't even mention him earlier. Gerald Everett, Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, Mike Gesicki. He had a decent game. Evan Ingram. Right? That rounds it out. It's incredible, guys. All you have to do is be better than the 12th worst, and you've already won. Okay? So, and you typically, I aim for not just 11, but like 8, 7, 6th best total weekly tight end points. You can pull that off streaming. More than makes up for it. I get it. It's not great, but you have to remember you put that opportunity cost towards another position, and hopefully they're getting those points for you instead, right? And the combined score is going to be higher, okay? Because the difference in the scoring between, you know, the top tight ends and what you can stream is not nearly as much as the difference between one of the top running backs and the guys we're talking about streaming, Sony Michel, right? Not even close. All right. Eagles, I have the Eagles in probably all of my redrafts or keepers, seasonal leagues, right? Hopefully it works out. I think it's going to be interesting. And then we saw them play against Minnesota this last week. I made this call not seeing that, and we saw how they shut them down, so I'm even more confident in it. All right. This is fun because we get to actually look back at week 2 streamers and see points. Okay, so because when we do with this show, it's like 3 different weeks we're looking at, basically. We're looking at the week ahead we're looking at the week we're on, and then we're looking back at the week before this that we predicted 2 shows ago. All right, so here we go. Winston's still good. AJ Green, we already talked about that. No, Logan Thomas, yep, good. Khalil Herbert, yep, good. Romeo Doubs, he might be like the only healthy wide receiver on the Packers right now. Lazard, Watkins, and Watson. Watkins and Watson, too similar. Almost didn't get it out. all hurt. So it's like it's going to be Romeo dubs, basically. And we already talked about Edwards, Hamler. Nope, nope. All right, streamers, how'd it work out? Jameis Winston, it wasn't pretty. He did kind of end up getting you a little bit of points. It wasn't a complete flop. Hopefully, look, we do this we ahead of time, so you still got to pay attention on the news. Follow me at FusionFFB on Twitter. I try to retweet information, even make comments sometimes about the takes. Looking back, this is one where they were talking about injuries in the back and pain and everything, and it was like, ooh, okay, maybe if I can get out of this game, I should do that. And where I did, that was great. Same thing for Matt Ryan. No Michael Pittman. We didn't know that. I didn't know that was going to happen. So that should make you kind of be like, all right, maybe I'm not going to rely on that so much. I pivoted out of Matt Ryan onto Marcus Mariota, and it was probably the difference between winning or losing the week. This Raheem Mostert call was, I mean, it was before week 1 he was even played. This is complete luck. I'm just going to say it. Complete luck. Even last week I said, oh, you can discount that one. They didn't use him much. No, they used him the next week, week 2. 10, almost 11 points. There you go. Crazy. We talked about Campbell. Not good. Get rid of him. You can cut him. Here we go. Here's the tight ends. 14.1 points. Tyler Higbee. 9 for Conklin. These are the streamers. 9 is the number. If we can get 9, we're good. If we get 11, more than 11, you are beating the replacement by far. You're talking top 6, right? Weekly, point per game. 9 gets you into tight end 1 top 12s. So we got 9, we're good. All right, and 9 from the Panthers defense wasn't as, they didn't have a ton of like big turnovers on Daniel Jones or anything, so wasn't anything too big. All right, guys, that's the show. Got it in. Yeah, we've been usually for the full shows right around 30, 35. So that's where we're at. Be sure to hit us up, fusionffb.com and Twitter at fusionffb. Thanks for watching, listening, or reading. Of course, you're not reading me saying that unless it's on transcript, which maybe it is. But either way, I'm thankful for you guys. Hope you enjoy the takes. Hope you are profiting, winning your leagues, especially these tight end picks. And a lot of like the first show with the running backs, absolutely helping you out. Don't give up on Jeff Wilson, right? I know some people out there were giving me a hard time about it. I'm telling you, he's going to bounce. He had 12 points this past week. That's just the low end of his median. Like, that's completely normal. He's going to have like 18 or 21 or something in the next week. Going to balance out, average out around 15 for the next few weeks until Elijah Mitchell's back. That's a running back too. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. I will see you guys next time. Hit me up any questions, particular to your leagues. I'll be more than happy to help you out to apply what we're doing here today to your specific teams. Hit me up. Till then, have a good one. See you next time.